What is the most overrated sport in your eyes? Don't mind me. Just a Canadian monitoring this post for any mention of hockey with my sharpened pitchfork. To be fair. EA Sports. It's in the game. Pay $3.99 to watch the rest of this intro. I love baseball and even I can't sit through a whole game. It moves way too slow. Edit. Just for clarification. Yes, really do love baseball. The Mets are my favorite team in any sport, yes. Yes, I know everyone is going to say, oh no wonder you hate baseball. So I'll get that out of the way. Only sports memorabilia I have is baseball stuff, trading cards, autographs, etc. Closing parenthesis. But I would never subject anyone who is not a huge fan to sit through an entire game in person at a stadium. I had season tickets once to Shea when it was around, and baseball is best enjoyed walking around the stadium and stopping to watch the exciting spots. I used to make fun of it and watched a couple games for the lols with my Muslim friends. This sport is actually insane. It's like a team game of chess. I get it that it's like chess, but watching chess is boring as it is from a non-chess player. Baseball is just the same with little to no action with overpaid players. Baseball players are actually the most underpaid. Minor leaguers don't even make a livable wage. Golf. Golf is a really fun game to play. It's incredibly hard, and that makes it really addicting. Even a tiny bit of improvement feels like a huge accomplishment. And by and large it's just you out there. You're just competing against your own skill set. I went golfing once. Shot a 78. Then I went to the second hole and shot over 100. Called it quits before I got to the third tee. Basketball, NBA. When the players don't even care for most of the season, you know it's bad. It seems pointless to watch an entire game when the score ends up being over 100. The fist 100 baskets cancel each other out. You can just watch the last quarter. That's why I prefer fewer goals like in soccer. It makes them more meaningful. For soccer it is the opposite. No goals except for penalties, which are almost automatics. I think hockey and football have the good amount of scores per game. Football has huge numbers, but talking about the number of time a team gets a touchdown or field goal. I love how hockey is probably the least said on here. Easily the hardest popular sport to play, if not the hardest of any. Rugby union is another hard sport. For me it would be golf. I see it personally more as a recreation than an actual sport. Golf is the perfect thing to nap to. Soft calming voices. Non-contact. No loud cheering. And when you wake up it feels like you missed nothing. Except for when everyone starts clapping their hands. Clapping hands, medium light skin tone. 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 But it's still a chill clap. The NBA is by far the most overrated. Back in the 80s, 90s, the NBA was amazing. Now, it's nothing but dream teams and ring chasing with a league full of divas. Not even worth watching. Have you tried watching foreign leagues? I haven't. Is there any league in particular you recommend? I used to love college basketball, but the one and done rule where most of the top players leave after 1 year has watered down the experience for me. EuroLeague is very entertaining. Golf. NASCAR, driving in circles over and over again. It's a decent entertainment, but it is WWF of racing. NASCAR versus F1 is like roller derby versus NHL hockey. Managing to offend NASCAR, WWF, and roller derby fans in one post, priceless XD. I do have to mention that sport brings people closer together. Having drinks with your buds is the main attraction. I'm not a big cricket fan, but I went to a match at Lord's once and it was excellent. I can totally see the appeal. Cricket has skill, speed, strength and strategy. Sometimes it's down to one individual. Sometimes it's all the team. Sometimes it's effort over days that wins the game. Sometimes it's all down to a few minutes. Other times it's about having a 5-day piss up with your mates. Baseball. Why does it take so long to throw a pitch? Fans get so bored they create games in the stands while at a game. Unless you're a Dodgers fan, you fight in the stands. Fists in the stands. Knives in the parking lot. Basketball, specifically the NBA. Most of the players are entitled prima donnas and the product is as bad as it's been in my lifetime, with players resting and far less physical play. Prima Donna and Post Malone are making an album together. LMFAO, I butchered the spelling on that one. Edited. Fishing. Does it take skill? Yes. But professional sport fishing is just a bunch of evenly matched guys gambling on how much fish meat they can pull out of the water. I also love fishing and watch fishing, but that's because I get a jazz out of watching people catch fish. Fishing isn't really a sport. Though. It's a hobby some people get paid prize money to do. It's referred to as sport, fishing, and people make a living doing it. I'd say that's a sport, which is overrated. Isn't that the answer to the question? Wrestling. Like WWF and WCW. Fans allow it. Greater than WCW, what year is it? American football for you, not in America. I have watched a couple of Super Bowls and I can actually see how the drama can keep people glued to the edge of their seat in a particularly tight game. And in fact have watched more American football movies than American football games. But at the end of the day it's like 3 hours of commercials. Watching people dither around and now and again there's like 15 seconds of action. In most sports the objective is happening almost all the time. The ball, puck, shuttlecock is usually in play or the cars, runners, swimmers are usually actually racing. But in American football they do bugger all 90% of the time. And I'm not exaggerating, a 100-minute game sees the ball in play for an average of about 11 minutes. There's a shit ton of strategy going into those brief plays and I sure don't expect players to be smashing into other for 100 minutes straight. But as a sport it seems so fragmented I don't get the hook. As a huge football fan, I can understand where you're coming from. The commercials are honestly obnoxious after not having cable for a while. But God, do I love the explosiveness of those brief plays. Golf. Golf. Darts. The pros used to use a pint and cig as counterbalance. Any sport that pros take part in whilst they drink beer isn't a real sport. It's a game played at a high level. I'm not taking away the skill factor, but definitely not a sport. Alcohol has been banned for well over 30 years now. Golf. Easily baseball. I always joke that the only reason baseball became America's pastime in the 1940s was that the only other things you could do was hopscotch and catch polio. It will be much less popular than the digital version or news. But I think there will always be people who will pay to have a physical copy just for the experience. And you can tell the fake excitement the majority of these streamers show when they announce the sponsor of the video. Yet you never heard anyone complain about that. Imagine a fighter game with Caillou, Arthur, Teletubbies, SpongeBob, and a bunch of other annoying characters that kids love but everyone else hates. I'd go for the other dude. After all, how hard it is to beat someone with paper skin and glass bones. And just a side note. A few years back my husband's ex-fiancée reached out to him and said she heard through the grapevine that him and I were married. She said it made her happy because even she could see that him and I belonged together. The hardest part of fighting Caillou to the death is making sure he doesn't die too fast. Well, who knew my top-rated comment would be this? Thank you for the kind awards, everyone. But why would I fight Arthur? You saw how far he threw DW with just a punch. Baseball is boring to watch. Not boring to play though. Same with tennis. Playing is fun, but watching is tedious. Baseball is 3 minutes of action stretched over 3 hours.